You cannot see when you're in something why you have to struggle.
Yeah.
But inevitably, that is going to be the means of your growth when you figure it out. So I now can chant and say to myself, because that's, I'm chanting to an external scroll, but it's really an external focus for what's already inside of me. I'm not focusing on something outside. And my prayer is, what is it I need to learn from this so that I don't have to suffer anymore? And that is my predominant prayer.
So then if suffering, this is a topic that we touched on a lot in this episode. Inevitably, it's gonna happen, no matter a doubt, right? Whether you're chanting, suffering is gonna come, and that's a way of testing you, as you said.
Yeah, life.
And so, my question is then, what is the ultimate purpose of life then? Is it to be enlightened, to connect to higher power, or is it to discover your purpose? Whether that's through religious beliefs or Buddhism as well. Like
what is the purpose of life?
What if
Shakyamuni, what did you learn?
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
You said being happy, right?
Yeah.
That's part of it.
And then what is happiness? And
Yeah.
Because it's subjective, right?
Yeah. Subjective.
But
yeah.
happiness is not being swayed by the things that other people suffer from.
Okay.
So when I'm struggling with something, it's not about, I want like a boss. I don't want to be with that boss anymore. Like it's not, why do I keep attracting the same boss? Happiness is not being swayed by your environment. So happiness only can come from within. It can't come from stuff. Is very, very subjective and very, it's very temporary.
Yeah.
There's another thing in this form of Buddhism that talks about the 10 worlds or 10 life conditions, and they go from hell to Buddhahood. And hell is not in Nichiren Buddhism, hell is not a place, it's a state of life.
Right.
So the lowest state of life where you want to kill yourself, that's hell condition, right? The highest is Buddhahood, is enlightenment, which to me means to understand the relationship of everything, of all phenomena. And I think you can have moments of enlightenment, but I think actual enlightenment comes at the moment of death. Now, well, that's another thing. I never even started. And then I had cancer at one time. So I had to actually face the possibility of death. And I really did. And I came to feel like, wow, everything I've done up until now is so that I don't have fear and I don't have pain. And that happened. But then I was asking myself, like, gee, what happens when we die? So it doesn't matter what we're taught. We all have a fear of the unknown. But for me, it was enlightenment, to understand the relationship of all phenomena. Oh my God, that's going to be fabulous. To get in that moment how everything in the universe is connected. But you can't explain that. It was just a feeling that I had that it was going to be beautiful.
Even if you regretted moments in your life before?
Well, and I started talking to you about the 10 life conditions. The 10 life conditions is you're always fluctuating through all of them. Shakyamuni Buddha was a human being. Nichiren Daishonin was a human being. Everybody fluctuates through all of these life states. The lower life states like greed and anger and hell and even the one called rapture is when you get what you want. These are all the lower life conditions. And that's what's screwing up the world right now because people, they're moving around in the lower life conditions. So the higher ones, you say, they're saying, if you live your life to fulfill your mission, whatever that is, everyone has their own mission. We don't necessarily know what it is, right? But to create value with your life. If I take my life and do as much as I can to create value, then the life condition, I will die in a higher life condition and I will be reborn in a higher life condition. So you live your life based on, I have lots of regrets, but because I'm using those regrets to help other people understand, that's human nature. What's important is that you learn something and create value with it. So the stuff that you've been through, you don't use it to sensationalize. You use it to encourage another person to say, you can overcome anything. Anything, right? Everything that you struggle with is an opportunity for you to transform it into something of value. Well, how do you transform cancer into value? Well, for me, it was to understand, not to be afraid of death, to know that you don't have to suffer. Your life condition can prevent that. I went through a cancer that should have killed me. It killed many people, but I never doubted that. And then the epidural fell out like hours after the surgery. and I won't take heavy drugs because they make me loony. So I did the whole recovery on Tylenol, and not Tylenol 3,
Damn.
regular Tylenol. And I'd say to people, that was uncomfortable, but I never knew pain. They said they took out your stomach and they took a quarter of my stomach and a third of my
Liver? Pancreas?
pancreas, yeah. And they took intestines, and they took all kinds of stuff, and then put it all back in and sewed it back up, and still I was fine. I got out of the hospital in 5 to 6 days instead of 3 weeks, and I didn't suffer. And I went, this is because everything I've done in my life up until now, the last, at that time, 33 years, because this was 5 years ago, the last 33 years of my practice of moving forward has been there at the crucial moment. So you don't know when it's going to be there for you. So it encourages you to live your life well, to the best of your ability. But there's no judgment in Buddhism. You don't judge yourself. You go through that, I'm not worth anything, poor me. And it's like, get off it already, you know? This was an opportunity for you to learn something. You're so lucky. Because the extent that you've struggled is the extent that you can help another person and really understand them, you know? So when someone goes through something I went through, abortion when I was a teenager, anything that women can go through, I can say to them, I honestly know what you feel. And it sucks, but you're going to be fine. And then how would you? I've been there. You can't tell someone you understand when you don't. So you have to experience.